Hello, I'm Byron. I'm a developer for the CNN Visuals team based in London. And my confession for this R unconference is, I don't know R. Not very well anyway. But I absolutely love using it, and what I found out quickly is that I need to automate things. So that's why I'm here, to show you how to automate with GitHub Actions. I think the best way to explain is with a little project. So I wanted to automate a script that could fetch and save data, create a graphic, and do something with it. So now, once a day, my script runs and retrieves US vaccination data from our world and data. It draws an arc for each of the 50 states based on the percent vaccinated, with the hope that soon all 50 circles will be complete. And then it posts the graphic to Twitter, where no one notices. Okay, so maybe tweeting data art into the void isn't going to help you at work. But maybe you're working on a story where data is constantly changing. Automating a script to update a chart and push it to a Slack channel might not be such a bad idea. Or maybe you need to set up a few scrapers and you don't want to get the whole IT department involved. So here's how you can set one up. Inside the repo, I have the main R script that I want to run. When it runs, I'm also saving a CSV in the data folder. I'm not saving the graphic that gets created, but you could if you wanted to. I just want to point out here that I've separated the package install into its own file. So to automate this, you create a special directory path called .github/workflows. And in that path, you create a workflow file. The file is the name of your workflow with a .yml extension called a YAML file. Don't worry if you've never worked with it before. This is what the YAML configuration looks like. And this is what we're here for, so let's take a closer look. Each workflow has a name, and then you set up when it should run. I've chosen Workflow Dispatch, which means I can click a button and run it manually, and also Schedule, which uses the cron syntax. We'll come back to that in a minute. There are other events you can use to trigger the workflow, things like pushes and pull requests. Check the GitHub docs for the full list. So I only need one job for this workflow, but you could have more. You choose the operating system you want, Mac, Windows, Linux, or Docker container. And this is optional, but you can set up environment variables, which I've set up as secrets under settings in your repo. Okay, so this next section is just the series of steps it's going to take. The first step is a pre-built action from GitHub that checks out the repository. Then one from rlib that sets up R specifying the version. Now we want to use a cached version of this virtual machine if we can. I give it a key that uses a hash of the contents of that install packages file. You don't have to use variables like this, you could give it any name you want. But this way, if my dependencies change, it will create a new cache. And notice I've given this step an ID. Steps can pass information to other steps. Install packages. You can put conditionals in steps, so we only need to run the install if we couldn't locate the cache in the previous step. So now we can run the actual script. And since I also save the data when it runs, I want to commit those changes. I'm committing as an automated user so it doesn't blow up my GitHub activity. And that's the workflow. So here, that's what's going to run at 46 minutes past the 20th hour every day. In other words, every day at 8:46 p.m. UTC, or if I publish it manually. Don't worry if you're not familiar with cron syntax. crontab.guru website will help you out. So now, since we created that file in the .github/workflows directory, it appears in this Actions tab, along with a history of each time it's run. You can view an activity log and drill down into each step. The slash next to the install packages shows it was able to skip that step because it found the cache in the previous step. And if an action fails, you get an email alert, which is pretty handy. And you can also dig into the logs to see what went wrong. With actions, you get a lot of computing time. If timings are super critical, then you might need a different solution. These roughly run when you set it, but could be as much as 10 minutes off. Not that you'd want to use something other than R, but anything's possible. You're already in GitHub, so you can just save and commit files. You can post things to Twitter or Slack, deploy to Netlify or AWS. So there you go. I hope this has kicked off some ideas for you to play around with. Thanks for listening. I'd love to hear what you get up to with it. There are plenty of resources out there if you get stuck. Thanks for having me, and reach out if you have any questions or want to share what you've made.